Recently, we reviewed the first ever Maserati Grecale. Today, we're going to step further with the Grecale Trofeo. So let me show you how good this thing is. The difference with the model that we reviewed previously is not huge, but here's what's different. First, rear end. We have the carbon fiber diffuser. Absolutely love that, sporty and aggressive. It has quad exhaust, which kind of remind me the one used in the Mercedes, the AMG one. I'm okay with that, but it is an actual quad exhaust. It's not fake. The other thing you need to know is that this has the Intenso blue color, which is in English technically blue intense. There's a few options that you can pick from, and of course they are in Italian. Moving on to the side profile, we got the Maserati crest. But here's one thing I noticed with it. It has these red finish line in the crest, which I'm assuming are only available to the Trofeo. This is equipped with the 21-inch wheels. It has yellow calipers, or as they call it in Italian, giallo. And then we have the actual handbrake caliper, drilled rotors. The tires are winter tires, of course, because it's still cold in Toronto. Absolutely love these wheels, but I'm sure you can find something out there, maybe aftermarket. The carbon fiber continues. We have the side skirts, beautiful. And what I love the most is that the carbon fiber really pops out because of that blue color painted exterior. Now, let's go into the front side over here. We have the Trofeo badge on the side here, also painted in red around it, and the air vents, very traditional to the Maserati brand. Now, if we go onto the side, we got the front wheels. This uses 6 piston calipers in the front, drill rotors for a better cooling system. Then we have the 21-inch wheels. These are the Pirelli. The front one are 265, 40, 21. So it's a staggered system. Let's move on to the front side, because even there we got a few changes. Of course, they had to include carbon fiber in the front, so we got the lip at the bottom, which in comparison to the one that we had previously did not have a carbon fiber. This does, and of course it complements the entire front end, but everything else remains very much the same. And if you notice, even the actual grille, it's pretty much the same as the Maserati Levante 2, which I had a few months back. I love this. I love how it looks, and I love that they've kept the traditional design even with the Grecale. Under the hood, this beauty has a 3-liter V6 twin turbo, 90 degree. It makes 523 brake horsepower. Is of course all-wheel drive. This is the same engine used in the new Maserati MC20. Yes, they share the exact same engine. This just looks nicer, but it also reminds me a bit of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio engine and the Giulia, which is kind of that similar design, although they're part of the same power plant. 0 to 60, this beauty does it in 3.5 seconds, or 0 to 100 about 3.6, 3.7 seconds. That is quite impressive for the vehicle that weighs slightly over 4,500 pounds. It uses an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is technically a ZF that is used in BMW vehicles as well. Absolutely love how this sounds. So take a listen to that. Jumping into the inside, of course, again, this is not totally different in comparison to the last model we reviewed. This has the same interior in terms of tech features, in terms of the infotainment display, in terms of the cluster. You still get a heads-up display, but here's a few things. First of all, the seats are slightly different in comparison to the model that we had previously. We got the Maserati crest at the top, and what I love the most is that the stitching all around matches the paint color for the calipers, which is nice. And even the crest on top of the headrest over here matches that color. Love the seats. And one thing I noticed with these seats is that depends what mode you're in, they also kind of like hug you in and they move with you so that you're nice and tight when you go around the corner. The steering wheel is beautiful. You got this flat bottom with these metal paddle shifters at the back, which is a tradition to the Maserati. They're not attached to the steering wheel. They're attached to the steering column. It's also because you have switches on behind the steering wheel, so that way you have your volume and the seeker on the left side, which is kind of like a Dodge thing as well. And of course this is a bit of a Dodge because the infotainment display comes from FCA since it's owned by FCA. Center console here, love this fit and finish, which I've seen this in the Maserati Levante as well Trofeo. It looks like carbon fiber, matches with the door panels, but it's not carbon fiber. It's a special material used just for the Maserati Grecale and the Levante. I love how this thing looks. I love the little details. I love the design. One thing I could complain about is, of course, the gear buttons. I don't like them because every time I get in, I'm trying to go in reverse. I have to like really press hard to get into reverse. That's not as quick. For a car that is a bit of performance but also luxury, I'd say probably a lever would have been a bit better, or something like a knob, something faster. This, I'm not the biggest fan, and I did say the same thing when we reviewed the previous model. Now, let's get into the little details in terms of the infotainment display and the cluster. This is very familiar. Pretty much the same design. It's kind of like the book style, or maybe the Samsung Fold. This design looks like that to me. First of all, we got the performance pages. You have your technical gauges, and then you go into consumption history. You got your torque management. The car is not moving, so you can't see really the torque or where the power is going to. There's also a drag race mode here built in, so if you want to find out your 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, if you're in the US, it will be basically 0 to 60 miles per hour. Then you have your braking distance as well. You got the off-road, because you're going to take this thing off-road. I don't know who will do that, but sure enough, they're offering that. There's more accessory gauges as well. Some little things added on. What I wish they added was a bit more in terms of this performance pages. I just find that they're missing a few things here in comparison to other models. Like, I want to know more about where the power is getting, where it's going the most. A bit more performance pages. I would have loved that. But what you have right now, it does have, especially the drag race 0 to 60. This is a huge help. If we take this for a drag race, this might come very, very handy. The other thing that pretty much the same as the previous models we had. So the built-in apps, you got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, your home button, they're pretty much exactly the same. You can customize it to your need. So very friendly user interface, and I like that. It's easy to use, and it is fast when you need it. At the bottom over here, we have the climate unit, very similar to what you find in the standard one, but this does have air ride, so you can change the suspension setup, but it also changes when you do the driving modes. Now, it does have a few driving modes that you can go around. So we got Corsa, which is more for like track in Italian, then there is sport mode, and then we have GT. This is my favorite mode for day-to-day. Why I say that? If you put it in comfort mode, I find the turbos to be a bit laggy, and I also find it to be not as fast when I need it. It's too slow, and it gets pretty annoying sometimes. So I usually keep it when I get in straight into GT mode, which is Grand Touring. Absolutely love that, because you got the power, you got the suspension set up properly, and of course you can also change the suspension to like soft or hard if you want to get it really stiff. The cluster, of course, changes the layout based on the driving mode. So right now we have an off-road, we go into comfort, then you can go into GT, Grand Touring, and then you also have sport mode. As you can see, it shows you the suspension system. You can turn it off if you wanted to, and then you go into Corsa. Then in Corsa, you got hard suspension system. I keep it in sport because in hard mode, it's very, very stiff, but it's because the Corsa mode is for you to go around the track. And then if you look carefully in the middle, there's a shift light as well. And now with the Corsa mode, the entire layout changed completely. There's a few settings that you can control from here if you want to know your braking power, your power delivery, oil temperature, and so on. So there's a few things that you can play around. You can also control your heads-up display, which with the Corsa mode becomes into a fighter jet style. It shows you your shifts if you have it in manual mode. But I love how this thing changes all the design. But although I do like this design, I will say that I have seen better in clusters out there, better layouts when they're in performance mode, especially for a car like this. This has a bit of that luxury and sportiness at the same time, but it's not too aggressive. I wish there were more details added to it. So for example, if I could see my 0 to 60 time here, or just a bit more details overall that I've seen in other performance SUVs. Let's talk about the price. In Canada, this Trofeo Grecale starts at $130,000. In the US, it's about $105,000. But the good news is that you don't have to keep adding features to it. It's a trim. In comparison to a Porsche Macan GTS, for example, it's like a sushi menu. There's so many things you need to add to, and each one has their own pricing, which sometimes is nice to have the options, but it gets pretty complicated. This, on the other hand, straight up, Grecale Trofeo, you get what you get. Fully loaded with what we have right now. And you got a beautiful V6 twin turbo. Now, how does it drive? I've had this for about a week, and it's a totally different animal in comparison to the standard one that we drove maybe a month ago or so, less than that. The suspension system in this thing shocks me. Why? I always expect performance cars to be somehow stiff and unbearable in some ways. This, on the other hand, doesn't do that. It's even in Corsa mode, it's not super stiff to the point that it makes the drive unbearable. It's comfortable. I keep it in GT mode most of the time in the city because it just gives me everything I need. It does have a exhaust valve in the back, so in Corsa mode or Sport, it opens up, so it gives you more performance sounds coming at the back of that quad exhaust system. The suspension system is, of course, air ride, and it changes the heights and it changes the stiffness based on the driving modes. You can also do off-road with this thing, which is insane. I don't think anybody's going to go off-road, but let's just assume you decide you want to do a bit of off-road with $130,000 Grecale. You get the option. You just got to put some nice winter tires on it. The engine in this thing is superb. And I understand some people say, like, well, the Porsche might be faster. I don't know, because I haven't done a drag race between the two of them, and I know for a fact Porsche Canada will not allow their vehicles to be drag raced. Don't ask me why, I just don't know why. Maybe it has to do with some PR thing, but I know for a fact I'm going to take this on the track. I want to do a drag race between this and the BMW X4M competition, just to see how much faster, because they say 3.6 0 to 60, 3.5. That is pretty quick. This is almost 4,500 pounds, 4,600 pounds. So it's pretty heavy. The all-wheel drive system is superb. It hooks, unless when you do a launch control. One thing I noticed is that when I do a launch control, it spins a lot from the back because it is more rear wheel biased. So when you do a launch control with winter tires, it spins. So you want to have performance tires so this thing hooks. With winter tires, it's pretty hard to get it to launch. It just spins in the back and you're doing a burnout and you're just wasting tires. I love this thing, but having said that, I think, in my opinion, I would wait till this thing becomes used, get a bit of a discount, because I just, maybe it's just me, but I'd love to get this at a discount, maybe at 100,000 or less than that. 130,000, it is a pretty steep price, but most SUVs like this go for about the same price. Like, for example, the X4M fully loaded, you're looking about 115, 120 grand. Unless you get the base model, which is like $95,000, $98,000. One thing we need to appreciate is the fact that we have options and we have competition. If we let other automakers to be just them, like if we just all of us bought Porsche Macan GTS, then Porsche doesn't have to work too hard to make a better car. They're just like, okay, we're the only ones that are offering this, so we're done. If we have competition like this, pushes other brands to make better cars. And I think it's a bit unique owning a car like this, because you might be the only one on the road at the beginning that has one of these. And I have to say, after having this for a week, people stare at this constantly. Everywhere I park, they stare at it. And that's a testimony that people appreciate the beauty of this. And I do appreciate how this thing looks, how it sounds, how it drives. I love it. I actually love it. I love the looks of it. That's one thing I have to say. I stare at it every time I park somewhere. I stare at it, and to me that matters. The Macan, it's just another Macan. It's like it has become like the standard thing for everybody to try to get into a Porsche lineup. They go to the Macan. It's the cheapest way to get into a Porsche, so that you can brag to your friends that you own a Porsche. Like I just, to me, that is, it's not a great thing, because then just everybody owns. I see them everywhere. This, on the other hand, you feel special. You own something that is special. You own something that not everybody owns. And I think that's what's important at the end of the day too. Maybe some people just say, I don't really care about that. I just want this thing to be fast, beat everyone, and go fast. I don't care about the design. I also find the Macan GTS to be very small on the inside. This, for me, is very spacious, and I've had my child in the back and I've had people in the back. It has space in comparison to the Macan. Macan feels like a little turtle. It's not spacious in comparison to this. It feels very small on the inside. This, on the other hand, I like this. I like this quite a lot. I'm just gonna wait till a used one comes up and maybe buy one for me for day to day.